Women need to be at the center of the American story. There really is no American history without women being included.
This museum, I think, will give people not only the history and not only the pride, but the inspiration.
We need a National Women's History Museum because America does not have one.
Many partnerships that this singular museum could build across borders, not only with existing museums, but actually across the world, globally, that has not been done before. And this being the nation's capital, that would be very exciting.
This is a major bipartisan effort. It's important for Republicans, Democrats, Independents to all be supporting this tremendous effort. This is very important to over half of our population, American women.
We have all sorts of museums in Washington. Believe it or not, we even have a museum that celebrates buildings. And yet we don't have a museum that recognizes the enormous contributions made by women throughout our history. That is an extraordinary omission when people come to Washington to learn more about our nation's history.
Of the 2,400 National Historic Landmarks, only 5% mentioned or were dedicated to achievements of women. How can we empower women if we don't even recognize them?
It's about the journey women, I think, have taken in life. My mother, your mother, everybody's mother.
I don't see this as a gender-centric issue. I see this as a gender-neutral issue. If you're going to understand who we are as a country and how we came to be this country, you have to look at all of it.
There isn't one art museum in the world. There's not one American art museum that houses everything. We've got too many wonderful, rich paintings and other types of art. So it's important to have a lot of ways that can be shared with America.
All youth should learn that both men and women contributed to building this great country.
I've always felt that when young girls come to Washington, and young boys for that matter, that they would get a far more complete understanding of American history if there were a women's museum.
Given when this museum is built, my granddaughters would take me by the hand and take me through and say, this is what we've done.
What a women's history museum can do that I think is peculiar to it is collect artifacts that we might otherwise overlook. A large part of women's history is about everyday life. Women, as we know, have been for centuries relegated to the home and the family. And so we don't think that the things that they used are worth saving.
For years, women were always in the background. They were part of the troops, not the leaders. And it's time for some of those stories to come to the forefront.
I'm going to go there and learn stories about American women that I, among many other people, didn't even know before.
There's a really famous swimmer, Katie Ledecky, and it's just cool that she's so young but so talented. And it sort of makes us all want to believe that we can be like that.
There are stories on the women's soccer team or on the tennis court or everything that are just great stories, and that appeal to us not just as men or as women, but as people.
Not only stories on the playing field, but stories about women in all walks of life will inspire others to say, you know what, it doesn't matter if you're a male or female, I can achieve whatever I want to achieve in this life, and look at, these women that are profiled in the museum.
I'm really fortunate that I get to tell the story of my great-great-grandmother, Madam C.J. Walker. She is a great American success story, born on a plantation in Delta, Louisiana in 1867, the first child in her family to be born free. And by the time she dies in 1919 at age 51, she's a millionaire. She's created a company that manufactured hair care products.
Another story that I think has to be told more fully in our country is the story of Frances Perkins, the first woman to be a member of the President's cabinet. She served in the cabinet of Franklin Roosevelt. She was the Secretary of Labor, and she really was responsible for Social Security.
If we don't have a museum, some of those stories and some of those ideas will be lost.
Many of the stories actually don't exist in museums, universities, and other places, and by having a center for our history and women's contributions to the American story, we will complete the American history story.
In the year 2020, we're going to be celebrating as a nation the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote. It couldn't be a better time for us to launch a major effort to build an American Museum of Women's History.
So we'll show how women made history, but it will teach us how women can make progress.
Having a museum up, running, functional by 2020 would be a nice benchmark. It will be a way to peg, it's been 100 years, that women have had the ability to vote in the country and to see what the ability to vote has done for women.
I feel passionately about this, and I just urge everyone to stand up and be counted. Let's get this done soon. There have been a lot of years looking at this. Now it's time for action.